Going on, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my gaming / reaction channel. Today we're going to be looking at the 20 dangerous animals caught being friendly, and this is from no other than the Fancy Banana. Yes, that's what the channel is called. If you want, go over, subscribe to their channel, like and share their content. They have really good content, guys, and we're going to be looking at it today. For those of you who are new to my channel, hit the like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on for every time you want to see when I drop new reaction videos or new gaming videos. Also share with whoever you know watches YouTube. It could be your mother, it could be your father, it could be your aunt, it could be your grandmother, whoever it is. Just share. Alright, let's get into it.
As humans, we have some fairly varied ideas of what constitutes friendly behavior. Maybe it's just smiling at a stranger, or perhaps helping somebody carry a heavy load. But when it comes to dangerous animals, what do we consider to be friendly exactly? If the standard is that unfriendliness results in the dangerous creature eating you, then anything short of total carnage can be classed as a win in friendliness. Let's take a deep dive into the realms of wild animals being amiable. From a huge lion with no sense of personal space to a baby elephant with a whole lot of love to give. Here are 20 dangerous animals caught being friendly.
Fancy Banana.
Number 20. Man hand feeds and pets friendly alligator. I don't know just how sensible it is to be dangling raw meat into an open-mouthed alligator, but this guy seems to be either very brave or kind of reckless. But at this alligator sanctuary in Louisiana, feeding and even petting the alligators is all in a day's work for tour guide Craig Mathern. He's named these big gators and chats with them as he feeds them by hand with chunks of chicken. It all seems super safe. I'm not sure if an alligator cares that there's a huge amount of difference between a piece of meat and, say, a finger, though. It turns out that this particular sanctuary is home to animals that have been relocated for one reason or another. In the case of several of them, it seems that they may have been pets that simply grew too large to be kept in domestic settings. Seriously, though, how surprising could it be that alligators grow? Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping.
Why would you want to put it?
Number 19. Cobras protecting sleeping baby. The footage appears to show a really tiny baby, just a few weeks old, lying on a bed, surrounded by snakes. Not just any old snake either. These are 4 king cobra snakes, and they each have enough venom to kill an elephant. These cobras don't seem interested in biting the baby. They look as though they're actually protecting her. Are they actually standing guard around the vulnerable child? And even when the baby entangles one of the snakes around her arm, the snake seems utterly unperturbed. There's little information available other than what can be gathered from the footage itself. Nobody knows where or when the film was shot, or who might be responsible. It has been pointed out that the film is pretty grainy, which does make it difficult to see if the cobras are still in possession of their venomous fangs. It's a common practice amongst snake charmers to remove these dangerous weapons from their animals, so we can only hope that this insane event had a happy ending and that no children or animals were harmed during the making of this particular movie.
Or how about a person who wants
Number
to take
18.
up the kid?
Whale protects diver from nearby shark. Even the most experienced of whale researchers was left unnerved and a little puzzled by a very close encounter with a large humpback whale. The jury's still out on the huge creature's intentions, but Nan Hauser, the biologist who experienced this incredible encounter, has made up her mind. The whale was trying to save her life. During a trip to the Cook Islands in the South Pacific, Hauser was swimming with whales, all in order to to study their behavior. They don't usually get so close up and personal, but the extraordinary encounter began with the whale nudging at Hauser with his closed mouth, pushing her along and eventually tucking her under his fin, then pushing her onto his back. Hauser was terror-stricken and didn't know what to make of the whale's unusual behavior. She was genuinely fearful that she could die. I mean, these are massive, powerful creatures that can dispense with a skinny lady with a single bat of a flipper, so yes, that is a suitable fear. The footage that she had shot during the encounter offered some clues as to the whale's motives. Amongst the other whales that were visible in the water behind, there was also a tiger shark swimming nearby. Hauser's convinced that the humpback whale was actually trying to save her from the danger that was posed by the shark. It's not unusual for whales to display protective behaviors towards other whales and even towards other species. There are examples of them saving seals and sea lions as well.
Nice.
Number 17. Lion climbs into tourist's car to cuddle. For the intrepid tourist in Crimea, there's an adrenaline-activating adventure to be found at the Taigan Safari Park. If you like your encounters with apex predators to be extremely intense and possibly dangerous, then this is the excursion for you. The open safari vehicles in the park make for an up-close and personal...
Yo. Okay, so I love cats, okay? I'm a big cat lover. Would I do this? I don't really know. I mean, it's a thrilling experience, but what if that one particular day, lion decides, oh, I'm gonna chunk off a piece of your meat. As I said, I love cats. I really do. I don't know if I would ever go on a tour like this with the lion actually coming into the vehicle. I probably would. Yeah, I probably would and touch it too. Because I do love cats. I mean, I'll be terrified at first, but damn.
Experience with the wildlife, but that can sometimes be just a little bit too personal. Like on this occasion when a lion named Philia runs up to the vehicle and jumps inside, pouncing on the driver and wrapping him in what appears to be an affectionate embrace.
Okay,
and all this would likely be just entertaining, as if a tiny bit alarming for the visitors, but it came hot on the heels of another incident at the same safari park, during which a woman was actually attacked by a lion. She was bitten through her arm and dragged about by the big cat. So I should imagine that gave this particular experience a bit of an edge for those who witnessed it. And I don't know about you, but I think that getting tongued by a lion might be just a tiny bit terrifying.
First, alligator. Okay, so I can understand if you knew the lion from a cub, okay, and it raised with you and you're familiar with it and it's familiar with your scent, but you didn't raise the lion, okay. The guy in the driver, he's accustomed to them and them accustomed to him, but the tourists, no. This is dangerous, guys. This is thrilling, yes, but extremely and you see what they said, that there had an incident on the same resort where a lion attacked a woman. Oh man.
Just really hope she brushed her teeth first.
I mean,
number 16. Giant pet leopard hugs his owner. Dangerous predators have feelings as well. Alexander Volkov had been the zoo...
I'm not going to say this enough. I love cats, okay? People keeping exotic animals as pets. Yes, it's okay. It's good, right? Because it's giving it a home. It's giving it love. It's giving it everything. but they're predators, okay? And as much as you try to train a predator, there is going to be a time when that predator could just flip on you, okay? I'm going to give you a story about my uncle. My uncle had 2 Rottweilers, all right? He had 2 Rottweilers, and he used to feed these Rottweilers every evening. I think every morning and every evening. Could be once a day or twice a day. Anyways, and one particular day in question. Actually, no, I'm not going to tell the story. I'm not going to tell the story. But anyways, let's put it down as sometimes, you know, there's a saying, don't bite the hand that feed you. These predators don't care if you feed them. At some point, they will bite you, okay? Keeping exotic pets is, especially these type of exotic pets, are quite...
Keep her in charge of caring for Caesar the leopard at Penza Zoo in central Russia.
It's a pretty Labrador, I love it. She's so playful.
But when he left his job, his big cat buddy began to miss him terribly. It got so bad, in fact, that Caesar went on a hunger strike, refusing all food and water until he would be reunited with Alexander. Eventually, the director of the zoo asked Alexander to take Caesar in and look after him. Now, it's one thing to feed your neighbor's cat when they're on holiday, but it's a pretty huge request to adopt a fully grown leopard and take it home with you. Alexander agreed, though, and took Caesar to live with him. He said that he knew the leopard wouldn't survive if he didn't help him, but he doesn't think that animals should be kept in captivity. He knows it's a massive responsibility to keep a wild predator in a domestic environment, and takes his duty as a big cat carer very seriously indeed. I also expect his neighbors are all relieved that he does as well.
Keep lions and
Number
stuff.
15. Man
Like
swims with a polar bear in a pool. It looks as though Mark Dumas is the only man on Earth who takes a daily dip with a fully grown polar bear named Aggie. This particular pair have been swimming together for over 2 decades.
I probably would pet a polar bear if it's friendly and trained.
And have been more or less inseparable for Aggie's whole life. But has the guy taken his love of animals a step too far? Is this really a safe way to cohabitate? The 800-pound polar bear lives with Dumas and his wife. They're animal trainers and have successfully trained Aggie to not only live peacefully amongst them without the slightest hint of a murderous intention, but they've also made her a star of the silver screen. Aggie has starred in movies and television and is the most domesticated polar bear around. That's why she poses no threat to Dumas. He provides all her food, so she has no need to hunt. She has lived in his company her entire life.
So
he taught her how to behave, despite a few bites when she...
When these people pass, okay, what happens to the animal? Does somebody else get an animal? Do they turn them over to the wildlife? What do they do with these? When they turn these animals domestic, what do they do after? If the owner pass, do they put them into a retreat? What do they do? Because it's amazing, though. I really like it because the friendliness. It's a big bear, and I definitely would hug it. You know what I'm saying? But you see those claws and all that weight.
Was a cub, and she's now completely gentle, and Dumas has no fear that she would even attempt to eviscerate him and eat him, which, you know, is really sweet. Number 14.
You never know.
Huge python sleeps with his owner. What is the ideal pet for a small 7-year-old boy? A hamster, perhaps? Oh, maybe a puppy. How about a gigantic 16-foot-long, 220-pound python? According to a child from a village in Cambodia, that is indeed his perfect pet. The boy is 7 years old and is best buddies with a massive snake. In fact, they've been hanging out together ever since he was a baby. The first time the snake was discovered in the house, the boy's parents did try to take it out and release it far away, but the snake seemed really keen to getting back in and being with the boy, turning up again within a couple of weeks. The big female python has been named Kangaroo by the family and has its own room inside the house, which is fortunate because just look at the size of it. It's gargantuan. The little boy has a deep connection with the snake, and the family believe that it gives them protection, and the snake is so friendly with the child that the family have no reason to believe that it would ever harm him. However, a python is a wild animal, and although they do rarely attack humans, even an over-enthusiastic hug could snap a child's bones.
You think?
Number 13. Japanese man lives with his friendly caiman. This is such a beautiful and enduring friendship. Mr. Murabayashi has been taking care of Cayman, his 100-pound, 6-foot-long spectacled caiman, for over 34 years. This is one dedicated guy. Every day he brushes his caiman's teeth, which is a pretty big job, since a caiman can have around 76 of them.
He took this a little bit too serious. This pet thing. Oh my, he's petted is it an alligator or a crocodile? I'm not sure because I can never tell. I think it's an alligator. He brushes his teeth. And then the video before that with a snake, they were baiting this. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay.
This one, though, must have some of the cleanest, pearliest toothpicks on all the planet. It's no wonder that he's smiling. This devoted pet owner takes his beloved friend on walks throughout the city and has permission from City Hall, often being seen strolling through Cure City with his reptile on a lead, all to the enjoyment and fascination of plenty of passerby. Mr. Murabayashi has spent his life looking after this big caiman, and it turns out that the amazing animal could live to be 70 years old. So his owner is now concerned with making sure that he too lives another 30 years to be there for his beloved pet. Who knew how adorable that a pointy-toothed pet could be? Number 12. Friendly bear waves hello.
Yeah, I saw
Not only is this Kodiak bear a friendly kind of chap, he's got some serious reflexes as well. Catching prospect for the major leagues, maybe? This lovely big Kodiak bear is sitting by the fence waiting for a passing visitor, or perhaps remembering a time and a place when he roamed free, catching salmon as they leapt out of the river. When these eager Andes pull up and start waggling and hollering. The bear, however, has a reputation as a waver, and these people want their bear wave. Olympic Game Farm is a drive-through kind of safari park in Washington State. People sit inside of their vehicles, driving slowly past the animals that are kept there. Living exhibits in a zoo for people who like to do everything in their car. So these animals are probably getting just the tiniest bit jaded with all of the demands being placed on them to give the people what they want. This bear's so used to waving and then catching that he does it all in one casual flick of the wrist. But then again, a slice of dry bread is hardly a Yogi Bear-style picnic. It barely warrants a wave, let alone any enthusiasm. Come on, guys. Not even a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
All right, then.
Number 11. Wild gorillas groom U.S. tourist in Uganda. In an extraordinary and beautiful encounter in Uganda, an American tourist named John J. King II had the privilege to meet a troop of gorillas in their own habitat. Now, usually getting this close to a family of gorillas is really not a good idea at all. Although they're unlikely to be aggressive unless provoked, gorillas are extremely protective of their young and will respond to any perceived threat very fiercely indeed. So they must have been getting good ape vibe.
Yo, the gorillas behind him like, yeah, mess up once. Just once. Just mess up once. I really, really want you to mess up. Like, he's just back there like, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you if you mess up. I'm gonna get you. Yo, I give props to this dude though. I give props to people that does National Geographics. They are brave to do some of the things that they do and to get close to some of the animals that they get close to, guys. They're brave.
Vibes off of this guy when he strolled into their general vicinity. Not only were the gorillas untroubled by King, they began to show some interest in him. First of all, young ones seem to be curious about the
big guy?
Then the female sits beside him, and the big silverback settles down close by.
Yep.
Then, quite remarkably, a young gorilla begins to touch the man as if to groom him, taking a twig out of his hair and stroking his head. He's dressed in black and has silver hair, so perhaps that drew them towards him. But maybe he just smelled like a gorilla. Who can really say? I mean, do you know for certain that you don't smell like a gorilla? Number 10. Orcas playing with swimmers at Hahe Beach. When Judy Johnson took to the water for her daily dip on the Coromandel Peninsula in New Zealand, she had some surprising company along for a paddle. Generally speaking, it's not really the best idea to jump into the water alongside a gang of murderous mammals. I know that you probably think that orcas are really super cute and all, but they're actually insane and love to maim and murder. Perhaps not humans, but it definitely isn't outside of their range. So I should imagine that was playing on Judy Johnson's mind when she realized that she had been surrounded by a pod of killer whales. There was an adult orca, her calf, and a juvenile all swimming alongside Johnson. They were apparently playing and just swimming alongside her. So, in a bit of a pickle over what the correct procedure for sharing the sea with enormous killer whales was, Johnson decided to keep on swimming. And as confidently as she could muster, so as to show no fear, in her recollections of the extraordinary event, she remembers feeling that the animals were calm and didn't show any threatening behaviors towards her.
How do you know are you are?
Really, these enormous, powerful beasts could flatten a little old lady like her with a swipe of their tail. So it's fortunate that they left her psychotic sides at home that day. Incredibly, the whole encounter was actually captured by a drone that was flying overhead.
I'm pretty sure if she tried to touch
some
the young one, though,
are
it
just
probably would.
destined
Then
for
again,
the
I don't know.
internet. Number 9. Tiger cuddles on couch with zoo worker. Just a regular evening at home, curled up on the couch with the cat. Except that this cat is a tiger, and he's got all the teeth and claws that come with the title, too. It seems that back in 2008, if you worked in the now disgraced and permanently closed Bowmanville Zoo in Ontario, you were expected to pull a second shift every once in a while. No, not mucking about out the elephants or taking tickets at the gate. You had to take turns babysitting Jonas the tiger at your house. Jonas the tiger was about 6 months old and still needed a whole lot of extra care. He had a rigid feeding schedule, one that required around-the-clock attention. So obviously, the logical thing to do is to send him home each night with a zoo worker, right? Like he's the middle-class hamster or something, rather than a bloody great big apex predator that may just murder you, or at the very least, scratch up the couches. This guy may not be fully grown at this point, but he certainly has all the tiger equipment and is bigger than your average pussycat. So as he prowls around the living room and growls to be fed, you might just feel the teeniest bit uncomfortable.
You think? I'm sleeping at him, not on my
This all
toes.
seems like a big ask, to be honest. Imagine how it goes. You may only earn minimum wage and spend your day shoveling hippo dung, but your boss also expects you to take an apex predator home with you and feed it every hour on the hour, all night long. This job may be taking the mickey. I hope that they're at least getting paid overtime.
Better be!
Number 8. Pack of wolves can't stop licking and hugging a guy. Just what is going on with this encounter is hard to fathom. It appears that these wolves just wander out of the woods and clamber all over the guy. But this is the internet, and we all know how things are not always what they seem. And what seems to happen here is that a couple of chaps are just hanging out in the forest when two wolves suddenly head in their direction. The wolves fall instantly in love with one of the men and begin licking his head and trying to get pretty intimate with him. Generally, if a wolf were to show such an intense interest in a human, you would likely as not expect that human to be just a tiny bit alarmed. Mostly on the account of all the fairy tale wolves and their shenanigans, really. But this guy just sits there while the wolves do their thing. Perhaps he's a wolf whisperer, or maybe he just never read Little Red Riding Hood. If you have to ask, what is the likelihood that a couple of guys just happen to be sat on the snowy grounds as a pair of apparently wild wolves make a beeline towards them? Well, and why this particular guy as well? What makes him so very attractive to the wolf kind? Call me an old cynic, but doesn't his hair seem a little bit too lickable? What do you think's going on here? Let me know in the comments below.
Oh yeah, it's probably something that he has in his hair as well.
Mystery together.
If
Number 7.
Animals smell your
sea lion hitches a ride on the back of a boat and enjoys a head rub. This sea lion certainly knows which side of his bread is buttered, and why not? Boatloads of tourists flock to Cabo San Lucas in Mexico to enjoy the water and the wildlife, and they're certainly not averse to a little sea lion tickling and tidbit distribution into the bargain as well. This particular encounter was between a young seal that clambered up onto the rear of a boat to be fussed over by a young woman who was extremely eager to give the seal lots of fish and plenty of attention as well.
This is scary.
Sea lions, well, they can be dangerous. Not generally to humans. They mostly know that if they hang around look cute, then pretty soon someone will likely pop a fish in their mouth and pat them on the head. Judging by the way that all of the seabirds also chase after the boat, they're wise to the same luck. Unfortunately for them, though, pelicans just aren't as cute as sea lions.
Alright, Danica, dear.
Number 6.
Trying to get a fish.
Condor affectionately hugs man who helped to save his life. Living in the foothills of the Andes in Argentina, a man named Edgardo sees many extraordinary types of wildlife on his ranch and occasionally has very close encounters with those animals. He is known to have helped nurse sick or injured animals back to health. This incredible massive condor was one of those animals. So, without further ado, here's how the story goes. Edgardo discovered his condor on his ranch when he was just a small fledgling, well, relatively small, because these are gigantic birds in the scheme of things.
His wings are huge.
Oh my god.
The young bird was injured and still such a newbie that he hadn't really learned how to be a bird yet. So Edgardo cared for the bird, treating its injuries and letting it heal. Then he began the next part of the challenge. He had to teach this bird how to leave the nest. Condors are carrion birds, so they eat dead things in the wild, but this bird didn't know how to find food for itself. So, Edgardo hid chunks of meat around the ranch to train the condor to scavenge for food. Eventually, the bird got stuff figured out and found its way back to the wild. It's hard to say whether the bird comes to thank the guy that saved his life, or whether this is just a bit of an internet-y embellishment on what is already a pretty remarkable story. You decide. Is this legit, or is there foul play? Number 5.
Like God is
Wolverine
punch.
attacks guide with Cuddles. Although a wolverine is not the biggest of animals, despite how jacked Wolverine and X-Men
That's
is,
some fur,
these
though.
animals are aggressive and kind of feisty, and they can actually be pretty dangerous. In the wild, they mainly eat carrion and scavenge for their food, but they're actually also extremely effective hunters when the mood takes them. Despite their diminutive size, wolverines are able to get involved with some pretty big prey. They're known to have taken down animals as big as bison and moose, which is wild, really. These guys are about
Bison?
as big as a medium-sized dog, but they're vicious little so-and-sos, and they can deliver a nasty bite, so it's just best to avoid them. Obviously, a wild wolverine is a completely different sort of animal to one that's born and bred in a zoo, and this particularly affectionate animal has lived in captivity in Canada for his entire life. The guide, who is demonstrating the wolverine to the delighted crowd, has spent 8 years handling the animal and is, to all intents and purposes, part of the creature's family. So the apparent hugs that he receives are not so surprising, really. Number 4. Baby elephants love to cuddle. Now, let me ask you this. How close is too close? Is getting tongued by an elephant perhaps taking your relationship a bit too far? This is the insane footage of a man seen snuggling with a baby elephant at the Patara Elephant Farm in Thailand. This guy does seem to be having a lovely time, but I would be just a teeny tiny bit concerned about a baby elephant using your head as a chew toy.
Yes,
But hey,
it.
that's just me, and it takes all sorts to the funny world go round.
Oh, he's got his wiener out.
It looks, to all intents and purposes, as if the elephant is really digging the guy. And while that might be kind of okay when the elephant's small, imagine what the scenario looks like when that elephant gets all grown up. I should imagine there would be a little bit more screaming and possibly some crunching. I know I'm being a safety nerd, and it is cute if you like that sort of thing, because who doesn't enjoy watching a human getting snogged by an elephant? Number 3. Leopard cub treats lioness like his mom. In the wild, lions and leopards are enemies. They're both predators that are competing for the same food sources. In fact, lions will often wait for a leopard to do all the hard work of hunting and killing its prey before turning up in a gang and shaking down the lone leopard for its dinner like a bunch of bullies. So to see a lioness adopt a leopard cub in the wild is not only unusual, it doesn't make any sense at all. At least not to many wildlife experts who have been scratching their heads over the sighting of a baby leopard in the care of a lioness in Air National Park in India. It has been speculated that the distinct behavior of Asiatic lions may be behind the adoption. Female Asiatic lions do not live together with males, unlike African lion prides. So where the aggressive males would likely kill a cub that wasn't their own, these lions have a different hierarchy in place that may have given the orphaned leopard the chance to live, and the lioness the opportunity to bring him into her family unit, despite all of their differences. Who can say why or even how this may have happened? But as we have already seen, sometimes animals do things that we might not expect, and just because it isn't typical behavior doesn't mean that we can't enjoy how gosh darn cute it is.
It's a cub, so...
Number 2. Wildlife worker plays with lions in South Africa.
He's really, really good with lions.
You can call me old-fashioned, but wrestling lions doesn't seem tremendously sensible, does it? Especially not the full-sized, massive-maned male kind in the African savanna. But what do I know? I just sit here in a tiny box all night talking to all of you. Bored with life in the rat race, a Swiss banker named Dean Schneider decided that what he was missing in life was an opportunity to roll around with enormous, dangerous predators that could literally bite his head off. Obviously. So he packed up his suitcase and headed to South Africa to set up a wildlife reserve and fulfill his desires to hug lions all the livelong day. He's pretty confident about it as well, which frankly sets a whole load of alarm bells ringing. Schneider claims that he really knows how lions think and is part of a pride alongside them. So he doesn't even seem to have a healthy sprinkling of fear, saying that if he had any fear, he wouldn't be able to hang out with the lions, as then he would be in danger. There's some twisted logic to that notion, but it's just a teeny bit insane. Schneider says he's absolutely not training them, but rather just
I love the white one though.
The lions, behaving like a lion alongside them.
Lion.
In fact,
That's
he
cute.
goes as far to say that he can actually communicate with
There's
them
a
in
male
their
too.
own body language. Hopefully, his language skills are a match for his extreme confidence. Fingers crossed for you, Dan. Number 1.
Ooh.
Rescued kangaroo hugs her rescuers every day. Abigail is a kangaroo with a huge appetite for hugs. She was rescued when she was 5 months old and taken to Australia's Alice Springs Kangaroo Sanctuary, where she's lived for well over a decade. And during that whole time, this affectionate animal has expressed her love to her caregivers through daily cuddles. She greets the sanctuary workers every morning for hugs, and she's really into it. The funny creature really has a good hug on her, too. She gets proper snuggled in and even closes her eyes to enjoy the moment. Abigail has been going through this ritual every day of her life since she was rescued, and it seems to be the keeper's favorite time of the day as well. It's not often that these wild animals form such intense bonds with humans. It's just so cute. Well, who doesn't love a snuggle with a dangerous predator or a bit of anthropomorphic fun with animals acting like humans? Have you ever seen a wild animal being friendly? Perhaps a bobcat helped your grandmother carry her groceries. Let us know all about it in the comments below. Also, be sure to check out the...
Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Again, go over to the Fancy Banana. Like and subscribe to their channel, guys. And those of you who have come this far in the video, thank you so much. I ask that you share the video with a friend, with anybody that you choose to. Those of you who are new to the channel, like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on for every time you want to see when I drop new reaction / gaming videos. Alright guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting me. I'm Shay, and I'm out.